It wasn't a stupid conversation.
Right.
Too soon.
Too soon.
You know one thing on both sides of the football, at minimum. The left tackle played bad. The right tackle. Wait.
Wow, in a cheery fashion, welcome to the show that the pros watch. I'm James Brown, and folks, we are joined today. Phil gets extremely excited whenever this happens.
Santa Claus is coming?
Huh?
Santa Claus?
Santa Claus is here, absolutely.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
the merriest man in football, the happy cowboy himself, Mr. Michael Irvin is in house.
House.
Absolutely. Hey, and another man who had a pretty wonderful football Christmas as well, Mr. Baltimore himself, that would be Ray Lewis. And I don't know why they call Phil the Grinch. Phil is not a Grinch at all, is he?
You know, I just saw
Is
what
he?
you were reading on the prompter.
And hey, I'm picking up for you. That was John Morales who approved of that.
So it's in the prompter doesn't mean you have to read it.
And I did. That's what I just said. You are not what they say you are. Hey, your boy comes in today.
Somebody got to explain this.
What is that? What is that?
Blue suede JB.
And a man shouldn't do that?
But man shouldn't do that, JB.
What?
So I need Michael to explain to the people
we know
after
why.
2 years
Right.
he brought this shoe out of his closet.
And in 2020, I know everybody had a tough 2020, but I want you to know how good God is. God has been so good to me. Every time I come here, the Cowboys arrow is pointing up. And again, the Cowboys are right in the thick of this thing. I put on my blue suede shoes. That's right. I'm going to show my boys some love. Blue suede shoes.
Well, Ray took your shoe. I took your money.
Hey, Michael, talk about what did we learn, the dynamic between Tua Tagovailoa and Ryan Fitzpatrick and the head coach. What gives in Miami?
Well, first of all, JB, I'm going to tell you something when you talk about what I learned. I learned first that Brian Flores is the coach of the year for me.
Wow. Yeah.
Great coaching is about X's and O's, but also managing the Jimmys and Joes and putting people in position to win. The X's and O's. Going into last week, his team, his defense last year was last in scoring defense. They worked all the way to first in scoring defense. That's great coaching right there. That's X's and O's right there. And then managing the Jimmys and Joes. What he's doing with Ryan Fitzpatrick and Tua is incredible. It's groundbreaking in a sense of bringing a young guy along. We either ask the young guy to sit and wait or we play him too early. He's mixing it up. And it's working. And it's working because when I talked to Ryan Fitzpatrick the other day, and what he said to me that stuck out, he said, it works because Coach Forrest does a great job communicating with us.
Your thoughts, anything that you want?
Well, many things. Just the Jets. How about that? We never know in the NFL. They beat the Rams. Now they beat the Cleveland Browns. I understand Cleveland's in a tough position. Ray Lewis, this is for you. You know, the NFL.
If you look at all the off like that, feel like you got something to say. Okay,
I do. I do have something to say. It happens every year. When it gets late in the year, what happens with NFL offenses? They start to run the ball. And I got 10 teams right here, probably all going to be in the playoffs. Their number one thing, we're going to run the ball and play off that run with our pass, our defense. And why are they running it, Mike? More deception when you're under the center. Look at the Chicago Bears.
Right, what did we learn? What offseason paid off for what team? Is it Diggs being in Buffalo?
Big time.
Is it Tom Brady and Gronk being in Tampa? Is it Emmanuel Sanders for the Saints?
Wow.
Is it Jamal Adams and Carlos Dunlap?
Jamal Adams.
Right? Is it Jimmy Graham is it Phillip Rivers with the Colts? Right? Is it Ron Rivera with Washington?
That big off-season move.
What investment, right? You always look at this player changed his team and this player changed his team. What investment paid off? And to me, watching this game last night, Diggs.
That's what I'm
fell
going.
into
I'm
the
with
right
you on that,
place.
buddy. And I talked with Diggs about that
Yeah.
a couple of days ago, man, because I had him on the MIP, the Mike Urban podcast. I didn't even put it in there, but it is in there. Okay, I had him on it, and he talked about playing video games with his quarterback. And I said, do you play video games with all your quarterbacks? He said, no, the personality doesn't match like that, but ours match perfect.
Ray, put his shoe back up on the table as we go.
Hey, look, he's got his cowboy on.
All the way, Michael Urban's shoe. Hey, folks, time for the highlights, and we kick off with Michael's favorite Christmas present this year.
Little feet.
What's Michael's favorite Christmas present this year, this time of year?
A Cowboys win.
The Dallas Cowboys. Go ahead.
Wait, hey, Michael, wait. If the Cowboys make the playoff, do you get a bonus?
The Cowboys
Somehow,
are still alive for a playoff night.
some way.
Here are the Cowboys eliminating the Philadelphia Eagles.
Eliminating those Eagles. Love that, man. You love it. You love it, man. That's a real team right there. All they care about is the win, seeing Tua hanging all over Fitzpatrick like that.
And you saw Brian hugging him as well, too.
This is what you said this. This is why Flores, to me, is probably the coach of the year, right? Because that team, if you saw that when you walking off the field, it didn't care who threw the pass. Right? Let's win the game. And that's what the Miami Dolphins, and that's the reason why they're in the position they're in. I love it, man.
Yeah, it is. And I think, Tua, he understands this situation.
Yeah.
They're trying to get to the playoffs. Really, you need to come from where they did. We've talked about that. But, too, he knows he's the man. He's going to be the quarterback for a long time down there and everything. So this little period is going to do nothing to stunt his growth or anything like that. He's going to be fine, and he'll be really fine if they find a way to get to the playoffs.
Don't you love the way Phil just comes back and gets the other folks stunt his growth?
Absolutely. His confidence, Ray.
Hey, and we just saw Dallas, Baltimore, and Miami all win and stay in the playoff chase coming down the home stretch.
Yeah.
Phil, take us through the AFC side of the house first.
Wow.
The Chiefs, we know, are locked in at number 1. The Bills are 2, Steelers 3. They're going to stay there one way or the other, and the fourth one's still to be decided. But let's just say this. Here's how I look at it. The Miami Dolphins need to win to get in. They're going to play a Buffalo team that's the number 2 seed that's going to play all out. That's my guess.
Buffalo won't come off the gas, you think?
I don't think so. Why? They want to be the 2 seed so they can, if they win their first playoff game, their second one will be at home. And the other big one's going to be Cleveland and Pittsburgh playing. Cleveland, of course, needs to win. I think the Steelers and Ben Roethlisberger and certain people on that team will rest for this game, and they will give up the fact that maybe they can be the 2 seed and they'll stay the 3 seed.
I can understand them needing a rest, but I'm just saying, will they take that rest with just getting back in rhythm?
Can you afford to take the rest of you the Pittsburgh Steelers right now? I mean, they had 20 yards rushing.
I know.
The other day, right?
Ray, they're not going to change this late in the year. They're going to go.
Maybe you don't change, but your team needs to go into the playoffs clicking on all cylinders, right? You don't need a week off and then saying, oh, I'm just going to go make those plays, right? Because one of the reasons why, if you let Cleveland in, I've always been a big fan of get them out the way. I'm not letting nobody in the playoffs saying, oh, we're going to rest our guys and let you come up and then you end up beating us.
And it's this time of year we keep talking about this, and I want to say this when people say, oh, we'll take a week off. You do understand when you say you take the game off, Jimmy Johnson used to always say that means you take the week off.
Yeah.
So really, that's Coach Johnson never told us if we were not playing, and we had earned the bye quite a few times, but he never told us. So we can go through the practice week hard, so I'm not losing the week. Even if I lose the game, because I'm not playing the game, he would never tell us, and I hope they're at least doing that in Pittsburgh.
Well, I'll just say this. I'll put just a side wager, your blue slippers.
Hey, switch gears. Switch gears, Michael. Take us through the NFC side of the house, and especially the East.
And this is why I would need my blue shoes, buddy. 'Cause right there, you see it. It's just the NFC East right here. But I know, everybody. The object of this thing is to win the division. You can look at those 6-9 records and say what you want. That doesn't matter. You win the division, and that's what the Dallas Cowboys are about.
Sugar. You know what? You burns me up. Because they only call you when the Cowboys have a chance to get in. This man wore blue velvet shoes today.
Wait, we've seen him many times this year. They've been bad.
They've been bad.
Okay,
they've been bad. But I tell you what. Look, if you think about the NFC, right? And I said this earlier. What Jack Del Rio and what Ron Rivera is doing with that defense in Washington. That's a difference. If they pull this off, what Jack Del Rio has built with that defense, right? Going from blitzing earlier in the year. Stop blitzing. Now telling that front four and Chase Young, go hunt.
Just remember, Washington just went through a guy that's a lot like the guy they're about to play in Jalen Hurts. And I remember Russell Wilson just beat them.
Well, you know, a couple things. I'm going to talk about the Chicago Bears. Dallas Cowboys, they bought insurance. Andy Dalton's come through for them.
Yes, he has.
And the Chicago Bears, the way they've played here at the end of the year has been terrific. I don't think they can beat Green Bay because Green Bay is going to play all out to keep their position. But, you know, when you look at the game that caught my attention, the Rams and Arizona. Who are the backup quarterbacks? I'll give you $20 if you can name them. And the big thing is, here you got two teams that have high aspirations. Do they have a backup quarterback good enough to come in and win the game for them if they both have to play their backup quarterbacks?
I can't let you lead this segment, Phil, without somebody saying something about Tom Brady. In the first half he played as he's getting ready to go to the playoffs. Tom Brady may be playing in a Super Bowl in his stadium right at his own home.
Hey, Ray, and what we're going to do right now, Ray, we're going to get back to the highlights and a trio of games with serious playoff implications. The Browns, as Ray said, don't let them in, at the Jets. Chicago at Jacksonville, and first, here are the Steelers hosting the Colts.
Tom Brady. You know what, Michael? You know what, Michael? You need some meditation classes.
So the Browns become the latest team to experience a competitive disadvantage, if you will, due to COVID-related issues. That's a situation that could gain even more relevance during the playoffs. Who better to talk about that than our NFL insider, the senior writer for NFL.com, Judy Batista. So, Judy, going forward, postseason, especially as we look at what took place with Detroit and Cleveland, how big a factor could this be?
It could be huge. It could be playoff altering. Both of those teams got in trouble, not so much because they had positive tests. That's to be expected, even going into the postseason. It was contact tracing and high-risk close contacts that, in the case of Detroit, wiped out their coaching staff, which would be devastating in the playoffs, obviously. And then in the case of Cleveland, took out their 4 top wide receivers. So they were playing without 4 of their top weapons. You can make the argument, as Ray was just making, you should still be able to beat the New York Jets. But if that happens to you in the playoffs when you are facing a high caliber opponent, devastating.
Right. And to that, then, is there anything that will prolong, I should say, the postseason in any situation where the NFL would step in and move back games?
I'd be really surprised. I think you would see maybe they would move games by a day or 2 at most, but they're not going to. They want to play the Super Bowl on schedule. They have managed to do it through 16 weeks of the regular season. We're going into week 17. They want to stay on schedule. So they're basically going to say, unless there's an active outbreak, which is what we saw in the case of Baltimore and Tennessee early in the season, they're going to say, you got to play with what you got. Think of what happened to Denver early in the season when the entire quarterback room was wiped out because they broke the protocol. That would be a devastating situation, but it could happen.
Boy, that's why you got to make sure everybody's. Oof,
well, see, Mike, now you're going to my point, right? Like, how do you make sure that a practice squad player...
You police it all.
How do you police every player?
Right.
How do you get every guy...
Like Jimmy used to always say to us, right now we're a little over a month away from where I go. We should be able to handle everything. That's the guys that are playing. What about those other guys?
It was such a serious thing, right? That to win a Super Bowl for your first time, it's like eagle eye focus. What does that mean? Leaders, myself, Rob Woodson, got in the room and said, "You're not going out." It's simple. But now. It's more needed now, right? Because now you put everybody at risk, right? So now you have to sit. I think honestly, each player, each leader on the National Football Team has to sit their teams down, and you got to say, I don't care how big you think a party is or hanging out with somebody is. It's not as big as if we go accomplish this.
Honestly, I would be surprised if there are big problems in the playoffs because the stakes are so high. Everybody knows there is no safety net left now. They're not moving games around. You're not going to create an extra week. And you have to be incredibly disciplined and detail-oriented, which presumably you would be ultra motivated to be if you're in the playoffs. I think everybody understands the stakes, and frankly, we've had enough cautionary tales that this can't surprise anybody
You
anymore.
would think that teams would do that because you would think everybody understands what's at stake.
Well, that
and
I
that's
think
not the case.
that's certainly the biggest. That is going to be the biggest factor is the leadership and people being disciplined. What teams are doing, I suspect we are going to see some guys choose to stay in hotels. It's not mandatory. There are no local bubbles. I suspect those some guys will voluntarily say, I want to be away from my family, my kids, my wife. I don't want to take any chances. I'll isolate in a hotel. Some teams are bringing in, for example, quarantine quarterbacks, guys who stay away from the rest of the quarterback room so that if there's an outbreak, if there's a problem with contact tracing, you have one guy who can at least play quarterback, a handful of teams.
So those are good team measures.
Right, so you don't have what happens again.
But Ray and Michael, are you guys telling me that there's some guys on the team who might not get that?
JB, and even to this, because we're focusing here on the players. This situation doesn't have to be a player.
No way.
It can be anybody in the building.
Anybody.
So now you have to extend that leadership to beyond just the players to the standard. The guy coming in to clean the building. Listen, man, we need you to go straight home and come straight to work. We can't have you bringing in. That's the seriousness of it.
I think it is much less likely that you'll have an outbreak situation.
Right.
Those were very unusual this year, and actually their positive test rate is really low compared to the country at large. It's much more about the high-risk close contacts. It's much more about making sure they keep distance, wear masks, all of that kind of stuff. Don't congregate for too long. That is what has gotten teams in trouble.
You know what? I mean, I felt you guys' passion when they said you got to go to everybody in the building to make sure they understand that as well. That's awesome.
They don't know until they know. And we happen to have a few of those rings. You don't know until you know. So go get you one so you will know, is what I say.
That's a fact.
Back to the highlights. Thank you, Judy, as always.
Judy.
And we begin with the Boxing Day Massacre. Well, you can tell Mark is back in the writer's seat, right? Or at least that's what they call it in England. Folks, here are the Tampa Bay Buccaneers crushing the Detroit Lions.
You see Tom Brady. You hear that? That's Tom Brady.
And you know what? We're having such a good time because we just got the news from our producer, John Morales, that the Steelers are going to do what?
They're going to rest Ben Roethlisberger. Where did I hear that before?
And? Who said that?
Oh, that was me in the opening segment, and they disagreed.
Said it's going to rest everybody. You better stop.
It's good being right, you know.
Oh, man, I love this. Hey, now Ray loves this guy, Chase Young, having an outstanding rookie season. But the headline story for Washington, the football team, sadly, is the release of quarterback Dwayne Haskins. That leads us to the QB grab bag. And look, let me just say right up front, nobody is wishing the worst for this young man. I hope it's a cautionary tale for others to not make this mistake. I hope he gets an opportunity to capitalize on this sad situation and learn from it. So let's see what happens. All right, quarterback. After the release on Monday of Dwayne Haskins, what does the future hold for him, you think?
For him, I think it's going to be tough. A lot to overcome. There's so many good quarterbacks coming in the league every year. We got, an abundance of really good starters right now, and he's going to have to overcome this. Somebody will try him out, but he's going to have to change a lot of things. Preparation. He's got to change physically, too. He's got to throw the ball better. That's two things that come to my mind.
Yeah, I think for me, this is a sad story because me and Michael was just talking about it, but I think he has to look at internally what's going on in his life, who's around him in his life, because these decisions a lot of times are made by young kids, but if you have the right people around you in your life, you can turn that around. Can the kid play? He can play football. He came from that type of program, but this kid is going to need a lot of development for himself, for his life, not just for football. A lot of people think about the game. How do you get back in the game? No, I want to make sure he's a better person.
Well, as quarterback, we measure talent shoulders down, but we have to measure your awareness shoulders up. And hopefully, even though he's 15th pick in the draft, hopefully he gets to a place where he says, you know what, I'll take any opportunity I can to get back in, even if I have to start as a backup and then work my way back to being a starter.
That's his only
Be
chance,
willing to do that. Be willing to do it, though. Be willing to do it.
But I think willing to do that is being willing to find out who you really are, right? Talent is one thing. Talent can get a lot of doors open, right? Character keeps them closed.
And Ron Rivera and Doug Williams both tried to maximize that kind of conversation with him on an ongoing basis. Quarterback grab back. Is Cam Newton the long-term answer in New England?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Yeah, I don't see them making that deal for Cam to come back to New England.
No, I do not. I don't think he'll be in New England. Hopefully he'll be somewhere else and have a chance to play again.
Will Carson Wentz keep flying with the Eagles, or will he land somewhere else next season?
Oh, he cannot. Next season, they may have fans in Philadelphia in that stadium. He cannot go back in that stadium ever.
Well, you know, you ever looked at the money that they owe him and the salary cap hit and all these things?
I know how much money they'll lose on that fan base.
To get rid of him, they not only will have to get him to a team, but they'll have to give the team money and draft picks to get rid of him. So I don't know. This is going to be tough for.
So they keep him around.
This is not my question, but the group back there in the control room.
Don't blame it on
got
them.
Vin Licata all over it. Which young quarterback has mastered Phil Simms' dink and dunk attack?
Oh man, I'm gonna smack many. No.
Which young
Dink and dunk my rear end. How's that? Man.
Well, there's the answer.
Yeah, that's it.
I want to keep the church
You
boys
went
out
up
of
the
this one
field,
here, so we'll move
You went
on.
up the field.
And we return to the highlights in a matchup of teams with no quarterback issues. Of course, we're talking about Green Bay with Aaron Rodgers, the Packers, and the Titans.
That was Vinny.
Phil, you was MVP, baby.
Threw that thing down
You was
the yard.
MVP dinking and dunking to Joe Moore.
Yeah, dinking and
Hit little Joe. Hit Joe,
Down the
baby.
yard, man. Don't let him get
Well, as I'm sure you know, J.J. Watt vented his frustration. You mentioned their record now is, 4-11. He called this season a trash season in the wake of that loss. However, Deshaun Watson, who we also saw and heard there, he's simply been outstanding for Houston. So we leave it to our crack staff to come up with players that we ought to be showing some love to. Ray, you've talked about Deshaun Watson. Look at the kind of season he's had despite the record.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you something about this guy, man. I had this kid when he was at Clemson, and it was the most amazing thing to just meet him, right? Because when I saw this kid, the first thing I thought about was leader, warrior, passion, humility. And if you look at his numbers, right? I mean, passing yards second in the league, quarterback rating second, completion percentage third. He is the epitome of what the quarterback position should be, right? And he's found himself on a very bad team, right? And I found myself on a very bad team younger in my career. But I'm telling you, this young man, the reason why we gotta show him some love, because he is the future. He's the reason. If you watch that video of how he keeps his guys up, keeps his guys going, keeps the fight always going, that's the person that you want to start building around. And now, with a defense as bad as they are, 31st in total defense, 31st against the run, it's all bad. But when you have a Deshaun Watson, you have a future, and this kid should be praised for it.
Yeah, the guy that I want to show some love to is Justin Herbert. I mean, let's be real here, man. Oh, my God. And I've been saying this, and I'm going to say it here. I hope we are not cheated of this kid's development. I know they're talking a lot of talk in with the Chargers about making some changes. What I'm asking is don't change the system. I don't care what changes you make.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Keep him in his same system because as a rookie, he sets the most touchdown passes, breaks that record, most yards as a rookie.
Yeah.
And if it took Tom Brady and it take Aaron Rodgers as long as they've been in the league that long to learn a new offense, why would you put this kid through that? Let's make sure whatever you do, this system stays with this kid.
Good.
You know, guys that we want to shine the light on are not going to be in the playoffs. I would start right away with Dalvin Cook. How good has he been? Over 1,500 yards. How about a running back down in Jacksonville? James Robinson, a free agent, undrafted rookie, over 1,000 yards. Then Justin Jefferson up in Minnesota, rookie.
Oh, my God, give him some love.
My gosh, how good is he doing?
Yeah.
And then, of course, I'm going to mention his name one more time. Chase Young, he's changed we always talk about the quarterback changing the franchise. I think Chase Young is the guy that's going to change it down there.
And speaking of Chase Young, I mean, look at what this young man has done, too. I mean, he's come in with a focus, but he also is being mentored by Ryan Kerrigan, who he is hungry to absorb the information from. Great relationship as well,
He's a good dude. I interviewed him a couple weeks ago, man, and just, oh, my God, man. JB said all the right things. Talked about when he picked that ball up, he said the most important thing, Ray, he made me think about you. He said the most important thing when I picked up that fumble, all my troops were around me. A great defensive player knows great defense is only from swarming. So the first thing he mentioned when I was trying to give him love is all my guys were running right there with me. Made me think about a young Ray Lewis.
What about a coach? Mr. Saleh, Coach Saleh over in San Francisco. I mean, talk about a mass unit, but yet they've been playing hard game in and game out.
I'm telling you, he reminds me so much of Jack Del Rio. because it's what you will give for a coach like that.
Yeah.
You will do anything for a coach like that.
Your kind of coach.
Oh my gosh! And when you watch the way San Fran play, I'm like, man, they playing it strictly for him, and he's jumping around, and oh man, it's amazing to watch.
One last time, I want to give Ryan Fitzpatrick some more love for handling things the way he's handled things. You come in and you just win a game, and then you just go right on back over there and take your seat. And handling it that way, he's a much better man than all of us up here. None of y'all will be able to handle it like he's handling.
Oh, you
so I want to give Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Wow, folks, after being steamrolled by Buffalo, New England is assured of its first losing season, fellas, in 20 seasons.
Wow.
Wow. Well, that can only mean one thing. Time for Dear Insiders. Hey, folks, to all of you, I'm a man of few words. So here's my question. What do you do in January when there is no football? That comes from this gentleman here who says, thanks in advance, Bill from New England.
Oh, that's interesting.
No
Well, you
question.
just sit back and root against everybody else.
The only right thing to do, huh?
That's it. That's who we are.
Go on vacation. Go fishing. Go fishing. Get away from it. No, I just think, look, I heard Bill say this himself. Like, they have to figure it out, right? He's dealing with not full deck, and they just have to figure it out.
Yeah, go find you a quarterback,
Yeah.
find you some playmakers,
Yeah.
and let's wrap it back up.
That's it.
Got to go find you a
That's
quarterback
it.
and playmaker.
Absolutely.
Have you seen him this frustrated ever, though, Michael?
Throwing that phone, he threw that phone when Tom Brady was trying to call him on the sideline.
Is that it? Okay.
Right there. Tom, stop calling me.
Man, toss that phone. I said, somebody on the other line fired tonight.
Right, man.
Fire burns deeply in him, and you've called so many of their games.
Oh, yeah, many through that whole run. Of course, you know, Ray wishes they would have had these losing seasons earlier. He'd have a few more Super Bowl rings. But, sorry, Ray.
No question about it.
I got my.
Bill will get it right. Bill will get it right. He's the
There is
greatest
no
to ever
question.
do it.
You
He's
know
the greatest to ever
that's
do
the
it.
case. I know we don't have time for a New Year's resolution, so I'm going to speak for the group, and you'll throw eggs at me if I'm wrong.
No.
I know the guys would collectively say to all of us out here, if you have a choice to do anything or to be anyway, choose love. It wins every time.
Every time.
That's it for us. Thanks for watching, folks. Have a safe and happy New Year, and we'll see you all again next week right here on
Showtime.
Why are you smiling, Michael?
Because I'm a happy man. You're right. Choose love. Always, baby.